Hey and welcome back. Today we are diving deep into a topic that most of us struggle with at some point in our lives: procrastination. It's the art of delaying tasks, often for no good reason, and of course it's a real productivity killer. And to overcome procrastination you can easily use a couple of tips and rules, and one of them is to set clear goals. Without a clear sense of what you want to achieve, it is super easy to fall into the trap of procrastination. So what you can do is to take a moment to define your goals, whether they are daily, weekly or even long term. And yes, using all three of them is highly recommended because this will help you to stay motivated for a long period of time. Because when you know exactly what you're working towards, it is easier to stay focused and motivated. And in this case I can also highly recommend my video about my notebook, because a notebook is such a great everyday carry to write down notes and goals for your everyday work. And in this case actually use it for specific things. For example, this one here is for my client work and to write down notes and all kind of things I need to get my work done. And a couple of days ago I also got this smaller one here that I will use for my personal goals and to keep track of them as well. And that leads us to tip number 2, and tip number 2 is all about priority. Because not all tasks are created equal and some are more important than others. So actually start to categorize your task into groups to know what kind of tasks are important. As an example, set your focus on the tasks that fall into the urgent and important category first, because this will ultimately help you to make better use of your time. Of course you can easily use your notebook here as well to have a real checklist that you can use to make your progress visible. What I actually like to do is to combine things. I also use a to-do app on my Mac and my iPhone as well to set up things even for the upcoming weeks and month. Because at the end of the day this makes it way easier to create a list of to-dos and to sort them for your daily work. So now let's move on to the third tip, and the third tip is all about breaking your task into smaller manageable steps. Because larger projects often lead to procrastination because they feel overwhelming, and if the deadline is not tomorrow, it is way more likely that you will start to set your focus on different steps first. By breaking bigger tasks down into smaller, more achievable steps, you can reduce the mental burden and make the progress more manageable. This can actually help you to build momentum and to stay on track. So starting with smaller steps create a sense of progress, and as you check off each of them, you gain a feeling of accomplishment. And yes, for me the sense of achievement can be incredibly motivating. It pushes you forward, and of course it makes it way easier to complete these bigger tasks. Personally, since I started to set my focus on smaller steps for bigger tasks, I found that not only is it way easier to complete these tasks, but I also have a clear roadmap to success. So each small step becomes a milestone, and crossing it off on my list is an incredible rewarding experience. Next, let's talk about time management techniques. And time management is not just important, it's an absolute game changer. Especially if you need to complete multiple tasks within a certain deadline, this is super important. Try to implement strategies like blocking and setting additional deadlines. Time blocking is such a great method that can truly transform your productivity. And the concept is super simple. You create specific blocks of time for specific tasks. For example, you create a 2-hour block in the morning for focus work on your most important project, followed by a 30-minute block for checking emails, and then a 1-hour block for creative brainstorming sessions. And yes, this method works because it forces you to set clear boundaries for your task. And of course it helps you to stay on track and ensures you make steady progress throughout the day. Another tip is all about setting additional deadlines. And yes, this is another incredible effective time management technique. So in addition to the final deadline, break down your project or task into smaller deadlines. By doing this, you create a sense of urgency for each step of the progress. These deadlines not only help you to make steady progress, but they also splits up the amount of work for the whole project. And with a series of smaller deadlines, you will always know where you stand, and you can easily adjust your pace as needed. But what's about breaks? Well, breaks are not productivity killers. They are essential for maintaining focus and preventing burnout. So that's why I also highly recommend to actually implement short and planned breaks into your time blocks. And yes, especially one longer break is super important before you start a new task. Because at the end of the day, if you know that there's an upcoming break, it is way more likely that you will get things done. Lastly, tip number 5 is all about finding your motivation. And yes, everyone has different sources of motivation. It could be a sense of accomplishment, rewards, accountability to others, or the fear of failure. So identify your motivation and use that as your advantage. Because to stop procrastination effectively, it is crucial to identify what truly motivates you. So take some time for self-reflection and ask the question, what are your personal motivators? On top, what I also highly recommend is to try to visualize the benefits of completing a task or consider the consequences of not doing it. When you imagine the positive outcomes that will result from your work, it can provide a much needed push to complete a certain task. So take the time to understand what motivates you, visualize the benefits and consequences, and make it work for you. But these are a couple of tips and tricks that can help you to stop procrastinating. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.